I got out my comfy chair because I try to keep these Rose Anvil 2 videos short, but when I get excited about a certain project or product, I just end up talking forever. And so I thought I'd pull out the recliner for one of my most favorite products I've ever designed in my entire life. And it's taken me so stinking long to get this thing figured out because, and what is it? You might be asking, you probably saw in the thumbnail, but this is our Lasso Link neck strap. And I love this design. I think it turned out so good. And I'll explain everything, but I kind of wanted to give you guys a brief history of Rose Anvil because a lot of people just know us from cutting boots and shoes in half, and they have no idea that the reason and the way that I gained that expertise in leather was by being a professional leather worker for several years before the YouTube channel. And our most successful product that I've ever made was our camera harness. And this camera harness we launched in late 2018, I think, and it was designed in part with my friend who's a really good photographer, India Earl. We launched this product on Kickstarter expecting, I was like praying for like 20 grand in sales. I was like, that could get us over the hump to buy the dyes we need to make this product and hopefully get into this photography leatherworking world. Well, that baby generated $500,000 in like 30 days. And I was like, oh wow, okay, leatherworking could actually be my career. It's no longer just this high school or this college side hustle where I was doing little business competitions and trying to make a little bit extra money. This could actually be my career. Well, as you guys might remember, in 2019, COVID hits. So, right, we finished the Kickstarter, ship all of the products, everyone gets their products, and COVID hits immediately after we get all those orders fulfilled. And I was like, well, there goes all of my newfound orders and this new direction I'm taking the business because all these wedding photographers who are traveling around the world, doing these destination weddings, all of them got canceled. They were no longer booking anybody because everyone was so afraid early on with COVID that it's never gonna end. And so everyone was panicking and canceling everything. So all these photographers who are buying our high-end leather camera harnesses, ergonomically designed, it fixes all the problems all these other camera harnesses have, the sales just died. And I was like, well, okay, that was fun while it lasted. I don't know if I can keep doing this if these sales don't come back. And right around the same time, my buddy Jerry Rig Everything, Zach from that channel, who's like, I think he's at 8 million subscribers, shout out to Zach. He asked me to make his wedding ring for him, and it was, we hand smithed the gold, created a channel ring, and then took a piece of titanium tubing from his wife's, or his fiance at the time's, wheelchair, and pressed it into the gold ring. And around that time, COVID hadn't hit all the way yet, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll try doing a couple more YouTube videos because Zach's gonna give us a little bit of traction and maybe some traffic. Maybe I'll make a couple videos. I've been wanting to buy a pair of boots now that I'm not a poor college kid. I want to get a couple pairs of boots. And so I bought a pair of Doc Martens and we did an unboxing and it did really well. And since my buddy Zach was a YouTuber who tears phones apart, he was like, bro, just do what I do with leather goods. And I was like, well, I'm gonna cut a boot in half then. And so I cut that first pair of Doc Martens in half and that video started to do really well. And then COVID just took over the entire world. And production of leather goods dropped off. I had to keep some employees busy. And so I was like, well, that worked. People are locked inside. They're watching YouTube videos. Let's just make some YouTube videos reviewing leather goods. And that's where the YouTube channel really started taking off. For the last 3 years, we've just been doing 2 videos a week. Now we have Rose Anvil 2, Rose Anvil Builds. And it's gotten to a point now where I have such a solid team. Like I have my dream team of like 10 employees, this team of assassins, of highly skilled people doing a very specific job better than anybody. And I really do think that my team outworks and outpaces companies that are like 2 to 3 times our size. And so because of that, I've finally been able to get back to what I love most about this whole thing is designing products, making products. That's why I love the collaborations because I get a little bit of that hit of design when I get to work with those brands, like, what if we did this? What if we designed it this way? What if we changed this? But my true love with all of this, the whole reason I started doing this business was because I love making stuff with my hands. I love designing things. I love solving problems that nobody solved before through a physical product. And I love the natural materials that outwork and outperform all these synthetic materials. And so that's why the early videos on the YouTube channel are all about like crafts, woodworking, leatherworking, and all these other facets of craftsmanship that I love. And leather was one that happened to take off. But now that the team is doing so well, that YouTube channel is doing well, you guys are supporting us so much that it allows me to just spend a few extra hours doing this, what I love the most, which is designing these products. And I've been slowly designing this over basically since the YouTube channel started, because like that neck strap or the camera harness, now that COVID's over, it's still our best-selling product. It still is our #1 revenue generator for the product side of the business. And people all the time are like, where's your neck strap? Like, you sell this like high-end harness. Where's the neck strap? Where's your starter strap? I was like, oh, we're working on it. I'm trying to design it. And I'd go through about a month of like trying to come up with ideas, and I'd put it to rest for a while, get busy with the crazy times of like holidays. And then I'd revisit it again. And I just never could find something that I really, really liked. That was unique and different and nobody had done before, and that was like actually different, because there's plenty of leather neck straps out there. They're just big fat slabs of leather, and there's some issues with that, because a big slab of leather, it's really strong, it's really sturdy, but when it wraps around your neck, it's so big, it takes a long time for it to break in and bend to the shape of your neck. It also has like high pressure points. And for like a year while you're trying to break it in, the strap itself doesn't move. It's too rigid, and it just kind of makes shooting really uncomfortable. And so when it came to designing this neck strap, there were certain concepts and ideas that I really wanted to bake into this concept and this neck strap. So the main goals with this neck strap is I want it to be really light, I want it to be very flexible and malleable, but I also want it to be really, really strong. And it's kind of this, these contradicting goals, because leather is really strong because you can use thicker pieces of it. And the problem if you go with a really thin strap of leather, like if it was only half an inch thick, it creates a high pressure point because it's so thin. And then it also can wear out really quick because you have all that weight on a single thin strap of leather. And so that's why, to me, there's just been this hole in the market of a really comfortable and adjustable and wearable leather neck strap. And basically what it really boils down to is I wanted a neck strap that made me want to go out and shoot more, because everyone has that camera in their closet where they bought it a few years ago or a decade ago with these ambitions and goals to take more photos, but then it's such a pain to like get it out and edit the photos. You end up just putting it on the shelf like I've done. And I wanted to make a product that would make me want to use the product enough that I would just go out and shoot and go capture some moments and reignite that love that I have of photography. Because, photography is a hobby. It's really fun. You're able to capture moments, and it shouldn't be a painful process, and it shouldn't be something where you hate doing it because it hurts you so much. And I also wanted it to be very simple. I do like really complicated designs. It's one of the flaws of my own personal design thought process is I over design things. So I try really hard to pare it down and get a really simple design, because there's a certain beauty in simplicity, and there's a certain perfection in simplicity. And I also just love the simplicity of just raw leather, no fancy stitching, no multiple layers hiding how cheap the leather is, just a thick slab of natural leather. I like the way it ages, I like the way it molds, the strength you get from natural leather. It doesn't fray, it doesn't pop stitches over time, it's just the raw material. And I wanted it to just look cool. That's kind of the last thing I want. It's like I want a neck strap that I feel cool wearing, because there's so many ugly neck straps out there, and like, I don't know, there's not very many neck straps where you're like, whoa, that is a cool neck strap. They're just kind of like, oh, there's your camera and it's attached to a neck strap. I wanted it to, honestly, I kind of wanted it to outshine the camera itself. I wanted people to be like, whoa, what is that neck strap? I don't care about your camera. What is that neck strap? And so with all those goals in mind, that's kind of where I went to trying to find some inspiration. So I had these little ideals and these goals with the strength, but flexible, malleable, the flowing design. And so the way I do these like design processes is I don't try to design it in 2 hours. I give myself months, because I like to get a concept and just basically like seed it into my subconscious. And then when I'm out in the world doing my own things, it kind of pops up. It's like, oh, that's what you're looking for. Oh, this is an example. Oh, that's what you're looking for. And so I had those ideas in my mind, and then through over the next months and years, honestly, I really liked the way that bones articulate. Being a hunter and skinning animals, that's maybe a little bit too graphic, but my brother shot a deer, and I was helping him process the meat and skinning it, and I just, that little thought popped in my mind as I looked at the spine. I was like, that is an example of that. That's a really beautiful, organic, how do I say this? It's like a evolutionarily optimized design for this center of a creature. all the movement, all the articulation starts at the spine. And so that was a big one. I also really like, because me and my brother are big into mountain biking, so I looked at the mountain bike chains where I was like, that has to be really strong, it has to be malleable and movable and rigid in certain ways. I really like just a chain in general. And then, snake articulation. And honestly, the biggest one that really kicked this off was, have you ever seen those chain belts they use on industrial machines? They, instead of having a strap that has a one end point to it that you have to like cut and re-butt up together and sew together or bind together, it's a bunch of little pieces that link together so you can have the exact size and length of belt that you need to drive whatever machine you want. I was thinking about that in terms of a lathe, and I know this is like so deep, but this is what I love about product design. I love getting into the deep details. And that chain belt brought me to one of my favorite machines in the world, which is a lathe. And the coolest thing about a lathe is the only machine that can replicate itself. It's the only machine that you can start with a lathe and use that machine to lathe out and create the gears and the cogs, all these different things to make another lathe. And you only need that one machine. Might be a little bit janky of a lathe, but that's one of the things I've always loved about lathes is that idea. And I liked that simplicity and like the ability to not need extra tools, to not need extra materials. It's just mechanically done. And so I took all those inspirations and really just tried to bake them into this concept and started working through a few designs, and I'll put them in the background here. Actually, I'll look at them while I describe them to you. And I try really hard to document these drawings because I like seeing the progress and seeing like where the idea came from and how it grew and changed. Step number one, you can see, I'll kind of show you as I scroll through. We'll also have it in the background, but this is half for the editors. So this first one, I was just playing with different shapes, different ideas, kind of taking that concept, and this leather linking idea is not something I completely invented. Like I said, there's leather link belt drives, there's link bag straps, but nobody's done it quite like this, and I don't think they've applied it in such an interesting way and an effective way. But you got to give it up to the people that first did this style of construction for straps. But you can see, I tried a few different shapes, a few different teardrops, and that's when I was like, I like that shape of the vertebrae. It might be a little on the nose, but I like that shape. And so I started rolling in some of the vertebrae side, and you can see in this next one, I'm playing with different lengths, different widths, just to get the right proportions, mostly for the visual appeal of it, because that's, to me, probably like 75% of what I love most about design is making it look cool. Taking that confined set of parameters and then making something, but making it look really cool. And that's what these are. I tried a square top, tried a little bit smaller, and eventually, I got to a point where I was really happy with it, and I started playing with the proportions because I like the rule of thirds. I like designing things with certain geometric theory behind it. There's probably a really good word for that I don't know. But you can see, like, I divide it into thirds, and these are spaced a certain way, and like the holes are spaced a certain way. And I was pretty happy with that, and that's where we started making the first prototypes, playing with the different sizes. And then the cool thing about what we have the ability to do here in the shop is we can rapid prototype because we have that laser that cuts all of our wallets. So all we have to do is design the file, send it back to the laser. I just go back there, push all the buttons, vent it out the back, and then it cuts it out. And it's not a perfect prototyping because it changes things a little bit. Dies are always a little bit different. But we started making the prototypes and it started working. And like right off the bat, I was really happy with the design. And that's why I like digging into the design process, because I like concepting it first. And then the place where I really struggled was trying to figure out how to attach it to the end, because it's a functional piece that you have to move and remove, and it's not a stationary piece of the harness or the strap. And so I wanted it to be simple, no rivets, no stitching, no anything like that, no plastic parts, just as basic as I could make it. And you can see I clearly struggled with that for quite a while. Played with a few different renditions, played with the different shapes of the ends, and eventually, this is like, it's a little bit of a cheesy story, but I still think it's fun. I was in the shower and I was trying to solve this, and there's a certain feeling of when I know I'm on to something and I know there's something over there that I just haven't quite gotten to when it comes to design, and I can feel it and it's so cheesy. I know it's gross, right? But like, that's how it is, and that's why I love all this design stuff. I could feel that there was a solution there that I just hadn't quite connected all the dots to. And I was hounding myself over it. I was like sitting down for an hour, sitting down for 2 hours, just drawing, trying to get this thing figured out. And I was like, I'm gonna put it to rest. I'm gonna just go shower off and go to bed and deal with it tomorrow, which is almost impossible if you get in that like design sprint like mentality, which is really fun. But I tried. So I go hop in the shower and I'm like listening to music, you know, scrubbing my hair, doing my thing. Then out of nowhere, it like clicks. And I was like, that's it, that's the solution. And I literally drew it on my shower, my frosted shower glass. I was afraid I was gonna forget it. And so I hurried and drew it up there. And so it was like the most cheesy, like Good Will Hunting moment. And the whole time, I didn't think it was cool, okay? It might sound like a cool story, but the whole time I was kind of like, okay, Good Will Hunting. But that's how it did happen, and that's how we ended up with this end piece that is, I think it's perfect. I think it turned out so great because it looks really interesting. It follows the line, the design lines on the harness. It doesn't take any rivet stitching. The buckle's hidden behind. It ended up being so perfect. And let's see, is there anything else? So that's kind of the general design process, and then we went through several prototypes, played with a few different versions, different lengths, different thicknesses of leather, and this is how we ended up at this final prototype. And at the end of the day, this is still a prototype, and this is like the really hard thing about designing products is I've been testing my version of this for a really long time, but the problem with a new product is you can never test thousands of consumers' experiences in the testing phase. So even though we've tested this a bunch, that's why we're gonna discount it similar to a Kickstarter so that you guys can help us test these, find any flaws, and then you get a neck strap for a lot cheaper, and you get to be in the first batch, you get it sooner, and it's a fun part of the process. I really enjoy this like initial batch of testing phases. It's really fun. So enough of the preface. I could go for all day talking about this, but I want to unbox this and show you how it all works and everything. I should have been showing you this the whole time, really, because I've already got unboxed our vegetable tan leather from Wicked and Craig. It's a full veg, undyed. It's about as natural of a leather as you can get. It's tan in America, and I think Wicked and Craig makes the best veg tan in the world. I love their leather. We use it in our harnesses. We're using it in the straps. It's 2.5 to 2.8 millimeters thick, so right in that boot thickness, actually. That's how we partially decided on this. It's like, all right, let's use work boot thickness leather on this strap. I want it to be nice and substantial and thick. So it means it's gonna be a little bit harder to break in, but it's gonna last a long time, and it'll have that substantial leather feel. We also have the dark brown, which is tan by Seidel. This is the exact same leather you see on your work boots. This is their double shot, I believe, or Domani, one of the two. They're very similar. It's basically a clone of Chrome XL, but allegedly made to be stronger for more work environments and work leather or work boots. And we see this over and over again in the boots, and I just love this leather. I think it's so beautiful. It smells good. It ages really well. And this is, compared to the veg tan, this is a really soft and supple leather, and so it's gonna be a lot faster break-in period. And then we also have that same leather in black. And kind of shameless plug, this might already be launched, but the Drifter 2s are made out of this exact same leather. So if you get a pair of Drifter 2s, get yourself one of these neck straps to match with it, because it's the exact same thickness of leather, it's the exact same type of leather, and so you're getting like this Drifter boot, this $650 Pacific Northwest whites made boot leather in a neck strap, which I love. I could geek out about it. And I think I forgot to tell you what this leather was. This leather is a light brown leather that we use in our camera harnesses as well. This is the bridle leather that Seidel tans, and it's another really strong leather. It's a little bit firmer than the other two. This is gonna be the hardest to break in, but it breaks in just fine. And we're probably gonna ship it in this little craft box for you with the nice Rose Anvil logo on the front. And on the inside, you're gonna have 2 bags of these little muslin bags. Not muslin, I think. They're basically cotton canvas bags, and rather than shipping them in plastic and some of the stuff that isn't going to be any use to you and just gonna go in landfills, I like sending our stuff in these bags because it's more expensive for us, but you can actually use these bags. They can be used as conditioning pads or conditioning rags. They can be used for cleaning. They can be used for, you can just use these bags for literally anything, a giant bag of tea maybe. But in bag number 1, you're gonna have all your extra pieces. So this Lasso Link design, I wanted it to be adjustable. I wanted it to be universal. I wanted you to be able to use a little short neck strap. I wanted you to be able to convert it into like a little wrist strap or a sling for your full body. So you're gonna end up with about 8 extra of these Lasso Links. You're also going to have the little side camera connectors that connect to the side of your camera, like this. I love this little Fuji camera. This is the Fuji X100V. Hard to find, but it's awesome. And then, so this is what I meant with the bag. So you can take this, literally put it over your hand, put your conditioner on there, and you can just condition your products like this. You know, you put a little on your palm, run your strap through. These are handy to have. And that's why we pay the extra price to ship our stuff in those. And then you also will have a little thank you card talking about the lifetime warranty and a little bit of the Rose Anvil branding. And you're gonna have this QR code that's gonna send you straight to the setup video to teach you how to lace this all together and make this strap. Because even though it's super simple, it's shockingly confusing to put together. So there's that. And then the final bag is your actual strap. And this is where we're gonna send it to you coiled up, and it's gonna have a certain amount of links already on it so that you can just immediately, and it's basically at the smallest setting most people are gonna wanna use it at, and then you can add extra length as you go along. And then you basically get it attached to your camera. And this is now I guess we can start talking about some of the features. But the thing that I really wanted to do with this was I didn't want it to be like a 20-minute process putting this on and off. I wanted it to be as fast as possible. And because we just use 2 little buckles, it's as fast as taking your pants off twice. And depends on who you are. Some people can do that really quick. But when you first get these, it's gonna be a little bit hard. It's gonna be a little bit stiff as the leather breaks in. But literally all you have to do, it'll be easier if it's not around my neck, undo the buckle, send it through your little triangle anchor, send that strap back through the buckle, just like you would if you're putting your pants on or taking them off. No, you don't put the buckle on when you're taking your pants off. Feed that through and you got one side hooked up. Just rinse and repeat for the other side. And these buckles are solid brass buckles. They're made by Buckle Guy. We buy all of our hardware from them because they make really high quality, thick metal buckles, and it's solid brass. So they age really beautifully. They're really strong, and I love them. So that's how you get it set up. Now you're ready to take some photos, go out and do a photo shoot. Dust off that old camera that's giving you anxiety because you bought it for $1,000 and then sat it in the closet for 5 years, like I have. It's a good way to get out and shoot. And now that we have it on a camera, you can see how all these little links help distribute the weight of the camera. And it's kind of interesting how much it actually absorbs shock. It was not intended to do that. Like I did not even think about that when I was designing it, but I was wearing it around and I noticed it wasn't like jamming on my neck as much when I was walking. I was like, that's pretty comfortable. What is like, I've clearly designed this perfectly. There's no flaws in this. It's so comfortable. I was like, oh wait, it's because these individual links take just a little bit of the shock out of the camera jostling around every time you're stepping, moving, jumping, whatever you happen to be doing. And so it helps, in theory, prolong your neck and your pain, or push off the pain for a little bit longer, but also should help with your camera, keeping them as usable as long as possible because you're not jamming that thing down. It's absorbing some of the shock. Just happened to be a fun little side effect of this camera strap. But because all these are linked together, this ends up being a lot stronger than you might anticipate, and we're gonna do a pull test to show you how many pounds it takes to pull through one of these, because this really is only connected at this little like 1/2 inch thick strap. And like I said, if you had just a 1/2 inch strap around your neck, it'd be a little bit painful because it'd be so much pressure on such a small surface area, but more importantly, all that weight is stretching that little thin piece of leather out, and it just needs one little fracture point and it could rip, right? But with this, you're distributing those failure points across like 30 different links, but more importantly, that leather is bent over, and so you have that rounded strength of that structure of it being rolled over top, and because it's looped through 2 different layers of leather, you have that weight of that camera distributed along a bigger surface area because it's looped over and it's over top of 2 layers of leather. So you get a really strong contact point that's gonna be really durable because it distributes the weight as much as possible with such a thin strap. And maybe my most favorite thing about this whole neck strap is not even something I designed, but almost something that had to be designed this way naturally based off of fundamental geometry. And what I mean by that is, in order to make this work, you have to take one link and send it through the 2 layers of the previous link. And so the way you do that is you take the teardrop end of the link, you bend it in half, and then you push it through the big flat side first, get that through, pull it through the other side, and then you push it through the other teardrop side as well. And the really cool and interesting thing about this, and one of the things that kind of freaks me out about product design sometimes is like sometimes the products kind of design themselves, is the only way you could get this to work is if you had this very exact teardrop shape, because you can't pass this big end through, because if you try to pass that through, like I'll do it for you real quick. If I try to pass that through, I bend it in half, you can get through to that rectangular point, but as soon as you get past that, it's so much leather to pull through and pass through that you're gonna either rip the leather, pull through it, or it's gonna overstretch it. And so you really have to have a teardrop shape, because it looks like, this is a small rectangular hole. This is a pretty big bell on the end of this teardrop. And you're like, how does that fit through? There's no way, right? Well, even when it's folded in half, like if you look at it folded in half, it's still wider than that hole. But because that same slot that we're trying to push it through is in the teardrop end, when you push that through, it creates almost a perfect key-like effect to get this through without stretching the leather out. Because when you bend this teardrop end, you can see it doesn't get any thicker than this thickness or this width of the hole at any point when it's bent in half. When it's unbent, clearly it's bigger, but because of that rectangular hole, it creates that perfect shape to pass through this other rectangular hole without ruining anything, without stretching it out, without overdoing it. And so if it was any bigger, it wouldn't work. If it was any smaller, you would lose out on extra strength and durability. And so this is the perfectly geometric optimized shape to be pushed through this rectangular hole. And I love that. I love it because it's easy for me to be like, I love that because I didn't even do it. It's just how it has to be designed for this to work. And that's when you find those little key universal truths in product design, it's cool. I love that stuff. One really interesting thing about product design is you'll design it in one way and you'll stumble across these little features that you didn't plan. But more importantly, people will decide how they want to use your product, whether you, no matter how you designed it to be worn. Because initially, the thought was that these bigger the bigger ends, what this does, the rounded edges allow this to create a perfect circle without any sharp edges. It allows it to lay flat on your body and distribute that weight more equally and still being flexible and malleable enough that it bends and folds. And so you have the thickness of a thick strap, but without any of the downfalls of a really thick strap going across your neck. And so the whole idea was to have it this way, so that the teardrops were out and then the flat pieces were down because it'd be more comfortable. But everybody loves the look of this side, including myself. So everyone puts it on this side. It hides the buckles, it hides the extra details. It's a lot cleaner look. It just looks like a spine draped around your neck. And so technically I designed it to be this way, but everyone, including me, wears it this way. And I still think this way is a little bit more comfortable. But after these are broken in, it's not that big of a difference because you still get that flatness and you still get the contouring and the extra width still distributes the weight. But you can see now, look at how different this drapes and how quickly it falls and how much it, I guess I'll use this one. On a normal strap, leather straps don't do this. They're not this flexible, they're not this malleable, they're not this movable. And so it worked, is what I'm getting at. This is a product I'm excited about because sometimes products just work. One more unintended thing that happened with this strap that I didn't plan on, but now is a huge center point of this entire product is when I was in North Carolina on a family trip out on the Outer Banks, good Lord, it just was there. It's where my family's from. It's a part of my family's from the Outer Banks. We were traveling, I was taking family photos on the little Fuji film. I had my sunglasses, and I took them off to take some photos, and I was like, where can I put these here? I was like, how about on the freaking strap? I was like, that works so perfectly. This is essentially just a bandolier for all the other stuff that you're carrying with you. Because you could get a carabiner. I took a carabiner, I'll put an image behind my mom taking the least good photo of me ever. Put my keys on a carabiner, clipped them to this, put my sunglasses on this, And we're eventually going to come out with a bunch of little products and accessories so that you can replace a link with a cell phone holder, or like a little lens cap, or like a dedicated sunglass holder, or like a carabiner holder, so that you start with this strap as your foundation. It's going to work. It has all these features we talked about. But then as you use this, you can adjust it and modify it and kit it out to exactly what you need. You know, clipping stuff to it, your lens caps, your sunglasses, you put a little chest piece on it. There's so many ways that we're going to be able to adjust to create products to make this one of the most universal neck straps that you can buy. And that's just fun to do, because I like, you know, that's one of the flaws of a neck strap is they're only so useful because you can't really do much else with them. But this opens up a whole world of possibilities for literally anything you want to clip to it, lace into it. Eventually it'd be so cool to do like almost a wallet part, you know, like a shorter wallet that holds either your memory cards or just like a few cards that you need to carry with you at all times. There's so many ways, even like a little pouch for who knows what. It's going to be a fun product, and it's going to be cool to be able to release all these things and see how everyone's kitting it out and how they're setting it up. It's the same thing that we all love about boots and shoes, where you start with it and you're conditioning it, you're cleaning it, you're adding kilties to it, boot pocket kits, just like shamelessly plugging my own products, laces. It's fun to be able to kit things out. It's the same reason dudes love Tacomas. You buy the Tacoma and it's fun, but it's not as fun as like putting like the big racks on it, their axes they put on it, the ladders, the jacks. It's fun to kit stuff out. Just to kind of show you some of the tests that we ran, here's the quick test we did of how many pounds it takes to actually rip through one of these neck straps when they're brand new. Obviously it changes when they're worn and stuff, but as you can see, it takes so many pounds to pull one of these apart. And that was even surprising for me. The other test that I did that I forgot to bring in is when I first got this design finalized, I wanted to really test how strong it was going to be over an extended period of time. And so what I did is I took one of these, like a shorter piece of the strap, and I just put it next to my toilet, so that every time I was in my bathroom or I sat down on the toilet to take a load off, I'd grab that strap and I'd sit there, stretch it over my knee. I'd try to pull it apart. You know, I put it over my neck. And I've been trying to rip that thing apart for the last month and a half, 2 months, every time I'm on my toilet, and it is yet to pull through. And you can see it's stretched out a little bit more. It's deformed a little bit, but that's because I've been really, like, literally trying to rip it apart by hand for like a month. So like I said, this is still like the early batch, the first batch that we were going to discount to have you guys help us test this, make sure it works right, fix any of the flaws that we're missing. But that's the fun of it. You know, I love this testing phase. So now that you know all that, now how do you buy this? When's it dropping? All this information. Also, thank you for letting me geek out about this. It's actually very, very cool for me to be able to document my design process and why I love this and how it all happened. It's cool for me just to document it, let alone people watch it and hopefully appreciate it as much as I do, or appreciate it. A portion? How do I say this? To have people appreciate it to at least a portion of how much I appreciate it. So, like I said, this is gonna be the first batch. It's like a little tester batch with a discount. We're only gonna do about 2,000 of these, which sounds like it's a lot. And I don't know how fast they're gonna sell, how many we're gonna sell, but they could go quick, they could take a while, because we're gonna leave this sale running from November 2nd when it releases all the way through the end of Black Friday. And as soon as they're all sold out, they're sold out, and we'll maybe take some pre-orders and stuff, but we wanna make sure that this first batch goes really well. So it might be a little while before we do the second batch. And then once we've done the first batch and we have all your guys' input back, then we'll just have it as mainstay on the site, stock the leathers, and just be able to ship it within a couple days of your order. But on this first batch, to get the discount, it's only gonna be 2,000 of them available in the various colors. I think it's I guess 500 of each color. November 2nd is the release day. It releases to the early access or limited edition email list at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. That gives you a 2-hour head start for the official launch at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on November 2nd. That will launch with the launch of a video. And the sale will run from the 2nd all the way to the end of Black Friday. I think it's about 30% off. And then once we're sold out for the time being until we get enough feedback and we get more leather in stock. And this discount is only going to be available for this initial batch. Once this initial batch is done, because this is just the testing batch, once it's done, then it goes back up to full price till the next sale or whatever. So that should be everything you need to know to get prepped to order one of these straps. And thank you guys again for supporting this channel. This channel is what has allowed me to grow this business to a point where I can do the thing I love most, which is design products and design theory and everything involved with design. And that's why I love the YouTube channel so much, is because I get to look at other people's design and how they did it and why they did it and where their flaws are and how they try to fix certain things. This is what I love. And this is the whole goal of the business, to get that dream shop to where I can just do these kind of projects, share them with you guys, show them to you, and just double down on making some of the coolest and most over the top and unique things in the entire world, and show you guys while still showing you what you're spending your hard-earned money on, to make sure you're not getting screwed over by companies that are overpriced and stuff. Two of my most favorite things. So I feel very fortunate. So thank you guys so much for your support. It means everything to me. See ya.